The shocking truth: will the church be taken at midnight? Prepare for the final revelation. The air crackled with electricity, tension thick enough to cut with a knife. As the clock ticked closer to midnight, whispers layered the room like fog, thickening the suspense. In the heart of St. Augustine's church, flickering candles threw eerie shadows onto the hallowed walls. Was it just a trick of the light? Or was something impossibly supernatural lurking just out of sight? When the church bells tolled, deep and haunting, a shiver raced down the spines of the gathered congregation. Every eye turned toward the altar, each person clutching either their rosary or their seat, knuckles white. Then, just as the last chime reverberated, a sudden gust of wind outside rattled the stained glass windows. It felt like a warning. Tension crackled anew, hearts racing like wild animals escaping a predator. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows at the back of the church. Was it a priest or something else? The flickering light painted it in hues of gray and gold, every detail sharp and unsettling. The entity walked closer, head bowed, almost reverent, but an ancient energy seemed to radiate from it, making the fine hairs on everyone's arms stand at attention. Gasps floated around the room, some recoiled, others leaned in, drawn like moths to a flame. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The figure spoke a low, raspy voice that stirred deep fears within, as if it knew secrets that were meant to stay buried. Tonight, it begins, it whispered, the words haunting everyone who heard them. What began? What darkness was creeping into their lives? The smell of damp wood mingled with fear, wrapping around them like a vice. Outside, the wind howled louder, creating the perfect symphony of dread. The lights flickered once more, and a chill swept through the church. Someone screamed, the sound piercing the tension, breaking the spell, but it was too late. The door slammed shut, locking them in as the clock hit midnight. What lay ahead remained an unanswered question, echoing in the hearts of all present. Was this their final reckoning, or did something even darker await in the shadows? Panic erupted as the door crashed shut, a finality that reverberated like a gunshot against the church's cold walls. The congregation jumped, eyes wide and filled with dread. The air pulsed, thickening with fear, and a hush fell, punctuated only by ragged breaths and the relentless howling wind outside. "What is happening?" a young woman asked, her voice quivering as she clutched her friend's arm. They all felt it, the weight of dark energy pooling in the corners of the room, thick and suffocating. The figure continued its approach, moving closer to the altar, the flickering candles casting fluttering shadows that craned and twisted like the desperate imagination of those who feared the worst. "What begins?" a man croaked from the back, his voice trembling. "Your reckoning," the figure rasped, its head still bowed. The very air seemed to shudder at the words, as if the church itself recognized the prophecy unfolding within its ancient walls. An older gentleman, fueled by rage and denial, stepped forward, shaking his fist. "You'll not take us. We have faith." His declaration hung, empty and bold, as a wind gusted through the cracked window, sending a rush of cold air that prickled skin and stung eyes. "Faith?" The figure raised its head slightly, revealing hollow eyes that glimmered darkly, void of warmth or mercy. "That will not save you tonight." Gasps coursed through the congregation as dread filled their hearts like a solid mass. Faced with this spectral being, their previous doubts evaporated. Some had come to church seeking solace, not confrontations. Others had hoped for answers, while a few deep down yearned for just a moment of clarity among the chaos. Suddenly, the candles flickered violently, their flames twisting and bending as if they too feared the entity looming above them. One by one, the candles extinguished, plunging the church into darkness, the only light coming from the seam between the heavy doors. Screams erupted, voices overlapping, panic feeding upon itself. An icy dread made its way into the hearts of the people. They stumbled back, grasping at the pews, desperate for something solid to ground them. The deep silence that followed was deafening, holding them hostage in their shared terror. "Listen well," the figure announced, its voice resonating throughout the dim sanctuary. "The path you have selected leads to shadows and despair. You've been chosen to face your truths." "What truth?" A woman screamed from the back, her face pale, wild eyes searching for clarity in the darkness. "Your unspoken sins," it snarled, and as if responding to its words, the church vibrated with a sudden pulse, a menacing heartbeat that echoed a deep sense of foreboding. Shadows began to dance around them, twisting into grotesque shapes that seemed to whisper lost secrets of the souls trapped within this place. As they watched helplessly, ghostly apparitions flitted in and out of visibility, faces hauntingly familiar yet wrecked by grief and regret. The congregation hovered on the edge of reality and the ethereal, as memories spun around them like the wind outside, reclaiming lost voices. "What do we have to do?" Another voice called out, hope flickering wanly against the rising tide of despair. "Face what you fear," the figure intoned. "You are not innocent. Your past will come to claim you. The night hasn't ended, it has just begun." And as it laughed, a sound that echoed unnervingly, it faded into the shadows, leaving behind a palpable darkness thick enough to drown in. What happened next? Silence reigned, heavy and ominous, questions swirling in their minds like leaves in a storm. Each person felt the chilling weight of their own guilt pressing down, the darkness closing in, and deep down, they knew something dreadful awaited them. But even as they trembled in fear, a flicker of hope sparked within one of them. Was there a way out? Or would the truth consume them all? The atmosphere was thick and suffocating, a pressure that sat heavy on their chests. Whispers of doubt echoed in the minds of the congregation. Faces that had once held only reverence were now twisted in terror, eyes blinking rapidly in the dark. When the last candle went out, the dread was solid, tangible. "Is this really happening?" Someone murmured, disbelief lacing their tone. It was quiet enough that they could hear each other's breathing, rapid and uneven, like a countdown to impending doom. From the shadows, a soft rustling began, whispers curling through the air like smoke. They became sharper, individual regrets breaking free from the fog of fear. A man's voice trembled, I never told her I loved her." A woman sobbed, "I left my family for nothing." Memories seeped from the darkness like poison, flooding the air with the weight of choices made long ago. "Stop it!" cried a young man, but even he knew it was too late. The back of the church erupted with spectral forms, figures cloaked in sorrow, their mouths open in silent screams, eyes wide with unshed tears. The past found a foothold, clawing through the veneer of their present. Each person regarded the phantasms, recognizing a fragment of their own lives manifested before them. "Face what you fear, your unspoken sins." The figure's voice echoed in the cavernous silence, sparking a flash of fury in some. One woman shouted, "You don't know us. You're wrong." But there was no rebuttal. Shadows enveloped her, winding around her limbs, seeping into her heart, showing her the truth she had long since buried. "I'm not afraid," shouted another man, yet as the shadows danced closer, his bravado faded. He staggered back, clutching at old wounds, memories of betrayal and loss swirling through his mind. His scream morphed into a whimper, his sense of self crumbling under the weight of past actions. Outside, the wind howled, a mournful sound matching the rising hysteria within the church. The door jutted ominously, the seam of light flickering like a dying breath. With each gust, fury surged anew, the followers sensed their own intensifying desperation. Then, the figure reappeared, looming larger now, its presence feeding on their despair. "You've all been blinded by your own choices. You cannot escape the reckoning." The air turned electric, a vibrant pulse entwined with every heartbeat. Ghostly images filled the church, ones of lives intersecting, choices intertwined. Betrayals transformed into resentments, doubts transformed into fears, and then, a surge of realization hit. It was as if someone had struck a match in a dark room. What if we could? A woman's voice cracked through the haze, tentative yet brave. What if we banded together? Together? Echoed a trembling voice from the crowd, disbelief battling with the flicker of hope. Fear was paralyzing, yet so was isolation. But then a fierce glimmer emerged from the depths of the darkness, a rebellion ignited within hearts that had long been dormant. We can do this. We face them together. Someone shouted, rallying a chant of solidarity. As the collective determination grew, a strange light began to manifest. It intertwined with shadows, illuminating the specters that surrounded them. You could see the flickers of their faces, anger, sorrow, regret beginning to fade into something softer, something hopeful. But as they clung to that light, the figure's hollow laughter cut through the quiet like a knife. You think unity can save you? You are nothing against your own truths. And with that, the darkness surged once more, a menacing wave crashing over them, dragging them back into despair. Would the light last? Or would they all succumb to the darkness, forever chained to their past? As they faced the encroaching shadows, their minds raced. What past evils had they really been hiding from? The truth was closing in, and so was the moment of reckoning. Could they rewrite the narrative they had been given, or would it consume them whole? The air thickened as the shadows pressed in closer, a suffocating reminder of their sins. Each heartbeat echoed like a drum, loud against the backdrop of silence that threatened to drown them all. Faces twisted in anguish, searching the darkness for salvation. Stay with me. A woman shouted, her voice trembling yet resolute, gripping the hand of the person next to her. The man responded, his eyes wide with fear, his voice barely escaping his lips. How? How can we fight these memories? By remembering, she replied fiercely, by sharing the truth. The shadows flickered in response, momentarily retreating as if puzzled by the burning edges of their unity. For a moment, it felt as though they were forging a shield against the past. We have to hold on to each other. Someone added, and soon voices united, reverberating around the stone walls. Each declaration of truth drew warmth, kindling hope and igniting flames of courage that danced defiantly against the encroaching darkness, but the figure looming just beyond the crowd, writhed with power, eyes blazing with a haunting recognition of the pain it had wrought. You think this facade will protect you? Your truths are shackles. Each shared moment will only deepen your binds. A collective gasp swept through the church, a wave of doubt washing over their newly ignited sense of purpose. But from somewhere in the depths, a voice rose, a hard, gritty voice scraping against the wall of fear. No. You have no hold on us. Not anymore. I've lived in shadows long enough. The resolve hung thick in the air, a palpable tension that buzzed through the congregation. They were in this together, all of them gathered in this moment of reckoning. They felt the weight of the past but also the strength of their combined voices. One by one, they began to speak, unearthed regrets spilling forth like a flood. I abandoned my daughter. I stole and never looked back. I hated my brother and never made amends. Each confession became shackles shattered, rebuilding pieces of their spirits. Shadows writhed, hissing like angry serpents, protesting the re-emergence of light. As the final confessions echoed around the church, the air grew thick with energy. The ghastly figure lurched forward, rage twisting its features. You are fools if you think you can escape. It bellowed, dark hands clawing at the light they had summoned. But they held strong. The vibrancy of unity surged. Together, they raised their voices in unison. We are not defined by our past. We are now. The words resonated, awakening something within the dark presence, a flicker of uncertainty spreading through the shadows like a virus. In that instant, the congregation felt a collective power radiate through their joined hands, a warmth that pushed back against the darkness. The figure shrieked, voice shattering like glass, retreating like a thief caught in the light. Then hope flickered brighter, illuminating the church in a warm glow. But it was tenuous, they could still feel the tension, like a storm waiting to break. The darkness swelled, pushing against the bounds of honesty they had forged. The shadows were not gone, they were lurking, waiting for a nearby moment of weakness. "What if it's not enough?" whispered a man in despair. His face fell in realization. What if we can't hold it together through this storm? Eyes shifted, breaths held, a chill rushed through the crowd, a fear sharper than before. The shadows stirred restlessly, sensing doubt like blood in water. Was their newfound strength a mere flicker, destined to be extinguished? Could they face not just the darkness outside, but the shadows brewing within? As anxiety thickened the air once more, the figure re-emerged, its laughter echoing through the rafters, low and mocking. "You might have found a light, but it will fade. And when it does, you will wish you had stayed in the dark." The air crackled with tension, uncertainty wrapping around them like a vice. Could they trust their light? Or would they be forever consumed by the shadows they fought to escape? A gust of wind rattled the church doors, sending an uneasy shiver down spines. Murmurs erupted from the crowd, a wave of panic rippling through them. Shadows stretched and twisted, inching closer as if eager to grasp any flicker of fear. The mocking laughter of the dark figure echoed again, drowning out the few whispers of defiance. "Is this all you have?" it taunted, voice dripping with scorn. "A fleeting moment of light? Your hope is nothing but a candle in a tempest." The woman who had led the rallying call clenched her jaw, determination hardening her features. "We've faced darkness before. We can face it again. Together." The man beside her shouted, his voice rising. The crowd echoed back, desperate to regain their footing. "Together. Together." But as they raised their voices, doubt threaded through the air like a toxic fog. Each confession they had once shared now felt almost like a ghost haunting them, new worries festering on old wounds. Across the room, a man clutched his chest, breathing heavily. "What if we're wrong?" he gasped, eyes darting madly. "What if this light leads us to our doom?" The shadows tightened their grip, whispering dark thoughts into vulnerable minds. "You don't belong here. You'll always be outcasts, undeserving of salvation," they hissed like 1,000 serpents, eyes widened, hope faltering. Rage bubbled beneath the surface for some. Others trembled, sinking into despair. This was their moment of truth, yet uncertainty threatened to drown them once more. Suddenly, lightning flashed outside, briefly illuminating the church's stained windows. In that eerie light, the ghostly figure transformed, its visage twisting into monstrous shapes. "Your memories are curses," it snarled, "and I am their master." The crowd gasped, vulnerability breaking out into chaos. Women covered their mouths, tears spilling over. Men held their heads, wrestling with the weight of torment. "What do we do?" someone cried out in desperation. "Don't listen to it," shouted the woman, gripping her friend's hand tighter. "It's just trying to break us." Yet as she spoke, a flicker of doubt lodged in her own heart, the icy grip of fear refusing to let go. With every moment, the tension swelled. More shadows emerged, each more grotesque than the last, crawling in from the corners. The air grew thick with a stench of decay and despair, stifling any spark of resistance. They were losing the battle. "Feel the weight of your sins," the figure taunted. "Every moment you hide in this illusion of truth only sinks you deeper into the abyss. You think confessions can save you? Think again." The figure lunged, dark tendrils reaching for them, hungry and eager to pull them into darkness. Gasps swept through the crowd as one man stumbled back, colliding with others, causing a ripple of chaos that knocked several more off balance. "Fight it!" a voice rang out, deep and commanding. It was the gritty voice again, rising above the fear. "We are stronger together." Desperate, they surged forward as one, hands clasping one another, pulling strength from shared vulnerability. With a fierce roar, they faced the oncoming darkness in defiance. "We are not your puppets," they cried. As they held their ground, the shadows recoiled, flickering like a candle blown by the wind. In that moment, something shifted, a crack in the oppressive force hanging over them. Hope surged anew, fierce and bright. But then came a low rumble, a distant thunder that reverberated through the floorboards. "You think you've won too easily?" The figure laughed, now fuming with rage. "Let the storm come," someone shouted, emboldened. "We will not back down." But even as they rallied, an unsteady whisper crept through the crowd. "What if we're just delaying the inevitable? What then?" With unease clawing at their courage, the question hung heavy, thick with doubt. Would their newfound unity hold against the raging storm? Or was this just another lull before the darkness struck? As the figure reared back, eyes blazing with malice, a chilling realization washed over the room. Tonight, truth will be revealed, and those who cannot bear it will shatter. And with that, the shadows surged, a tide of darkness crashing down, ready to swallow them whole. What was the truth lurking in wait? Would they survive the storm ahead, or would they be consumed by the very shadows they had dared to confront? The shadows surged forward, a wave of darkness cascading into the church. Eyes widened, hearts raced as the monstrous figure expanded, absorbing the very light they fought to protect. There was no going back now. Every member in the congregation felt the icy tendrils wrapping tighter around their resolve. A shriek pierced the air, just one voice, but it ignited fear in everyone. "We can't!" someone yelled, fists clenched, panic rising like bile in their throats. "We can't face it." "No. Fight!" the woman said, her voice breaking under the weight of despair but strengthened by her refusal to surrender. She pushed against the looming darkness. "Stand together." They formed a circle, shoulders pressed close, bodies trembling but resolute. Breath came fast, shallow. The figure seemed to revel in their growing fear, its laughter a low, sinister growl that echoed in their minds. "Do you not see? You're all doomed." But amidst the chaos, a flicker of defiance sparked within one of the small windows. It was the slightest glimmer, the light reflecting off a forgotten crucifix. Instantly, it caught the eye of a man in the back. "Look!" he shouted, pointing with urgency. "The light! It's still there." Hope flickered in their hearts as the man took a step forward, compelled by something deeper than fear. The crowd turned towards him, drawn to that glimmer like moths to a flame. "If we can reach that light," he began, determination bolstering his voice, "we can banish this darkness." "What if it's a trick?" a woman nearby questioned, fear lining her features. "What if it leads us to more shadows? Then we'll face those too." Another voice chimed in, stronger now. "I refuse to believe we're meant to live in darkness." The crowd stirred restlessly. They drew strength from those words. One by one, hands reached for those nearby, fingers linking tightly, intertwining with purpose rather than fear. They began to chant, voices rising together in a chorus, gaining volume, emphasizing the strength of their unity. "Together! Together!" The figure lunged, dark tendrils clawing at them, hungry for despair. But with each chant, their resolve fortified, pushing against the shadows that sought to engulf them. Deep breaths, powerful hearts together. "Now!" the woman shouted, her voice cutting through the cacophony. "Take the light." They surged forward, racing toward the source. Every heart thudded like drums, each step a declaration against the dread. The light brightened, almost blinding, illuminating faces grim with determination. As they reached the window, the warmth enveloped them. But as they stepped into the brilliance, a chilling voice whispered from the darkest corners. "You think you can escape?" Suddenly, a woman collapsed, eyes wide in horror. "It's inside me. The truth is within," she wailed, clawing at her chest. Silence fell like a plague, the words heavy as lead. What did she mean? Someone gasped, glancing nervously around. What truth? The figure's laughter rang out, echoing impossibly loud. Your truths. Each of you carry scars too deep to hide. Those secrets will consume you, and the light will expose your darkest moments. They froze, dread locking their limbs. A silhouette by the door, a teenage boy with a haunted expression, stepped forward, trembling as he spoke. I saw something. Before all this something I shouldn't have. The figure leaned in closer, grinning, sharper than death itself. Do tell, little one. Let us see if you can bear the weight of your truth. Chilled and uncertain, they awaited his revelation, breath held tight in their chests. What secrets would emerge, and at what cost? The ripples of fate were about to collide with those who stood on the precipice of their past. What truth lay hidden within each of them? Were they truly prepared for the exposure that awaited? The darkness was ready, and soon, they would be too. The boy's voice trembled, words barely escaping his lips. I saw my father. He was alive. I didn't recognize him at first. Not until he paused, eyes darting to the ground, pulling the memory closer as though it were a heavy weight. He was in the alley with someone he shouldn't have been. Gasps rang out around the room, and the oppressive darkness seemed to inch closer, thriving on their mounting fear. The boy took a step back, trapped between the memory and the present horror. Who was he with? A voice yelled, breaking through the silence, desperate for answers, desperate to understand. I didn't stay to find out. The boy cried, cheeks streaked with tears. But it was wrong. I knew it then and I know it now. I was supposed to tell someone, but I didn't and now. His shoulders shook as he fought back sobs. The figure loomed larger, its eyes glinting with predatory delight. Ah, the weight of guilt can be suffocating, can it not? It taunted, a sinister undertone slithering through their minds. The laughter echoed, intertwining with the chilling message. Secrets fester in silence, they become your cage. Another voice rose, filled with defiance yet trembling with fear. We can't let it win. We have to stand firm. A woman broke from the circle, stepping forward to face both the boy and the darkness. You are not defined by your darkest moments. We can change. We can move forward. The figure's form rippled with amusement. And what truth do you harbor, dear one? What secrets lie deep within that trembling heart? Let us peel the layers away. She inhaled sharply, her breath stuttering. I've lost too many people. I was angry at them for leaving, for not fighting to stay. I thought I could fix everything if I just reached out. But I didn't and now her voice cracked, pain leaking through the facade of bravery. A chilling cackle erupted, ringing across the church. There it is. The truth will leave scars on your soul. It disarms you, strips you bare. Each memory a dagger, poised to sever your resolve. Others in the congregation began murmuring, whispers dancing through the air like insects drawn to a flame. What have we hidden? What have we kept locked away? With each revelation, faces contorted with the weight of their truths as they wrestled against the figure's mocking tone. I lost a brother to addiction, a man finally admitted, eyes cast down. I kept denying he was gone, telling myself he would come back. And the guilt I did nothing. The darkness surged, feeding on their fears, the tendrils reaching out, almost caressing their limbs, offering a morbid embrace. Face it. The woman shouted. Face all of it. We are not just our secrets. Such bravado. The figure roared with laughter, a sound that sent shivers down their spines. But when darkness reveals itself, will you stand shoulder to shoulder? Or will the burden of truth dissolve your unity? A sudden silence fell, pregnant with uncertainty. The light within the window flickered again, but this time, it seemed different, stronger, almost defiant against the shadows. The congregation looked at one another, an understanding igniting in their hearts. "We can do this. Together!" someone shouted. But suddenly, a flicker of doubt flashed in the boy's eyes. "What if the truth is too much to bear?" he whispered, glancing back at the figure that loomed like a predator in the shadows. "Trust in one another." The woman's voice pierced the mounting tension, calling for courage against an unseen force. Just then, the doors of the church slammed open, an icy draft sweeping the room. A figure cloaked in brilliant white stood silhouetted against the storm behind them. "Will you embrace the light?" they breathed, voice melodic yet firm. "Or will you let the shadows conquer?" The congregation hesitated, caught between fear of the unknown and the glimmer of hope before them. What line would they choose to cross? In that moment, time stood still, and the weight of their truth hung heavy, ready to tip the scales. But who was this figure? And could they truly guide them to their salvation before the darkness enveloped them all? The air crackled with tension as the cloaked figure took a step forward. The light around them seemed to pulse, illuminating the faces of the congregation in flickering shades. Hope warred with dread as the uncertainty twisted like a knife in their stomachs. "Who are you?" a voice called out from the crowd, uncertainty spilling like wine on a white cloth. The figure lowered their hood, revealing a face both familiar and strange, a woman with stormy eyes that flickered with all the secrets of the past. The boy's breath caught in his throat. "Mom?" "Not just your mother," she said softly, her voice cutting through the clamor. "I am a part of all this. I've watched you, felt your pain, your struggles. And it is time." Her gaze drifted across the room, sweeping over the soul-bared assembly. "Time to confront what you all carry, what you hide." The figure, now fully unmasked, stood shimmering with a light that seemed to repel the surrounding darkness. Yet, tremors of doubt still clung to the congregation's hearts. "Why now? Why here?" the woman who had stepped forward earlier asked, reeling with confusion. "Are you really here to help us?" "I am here to show you the way," the mother replied, extending her arms like wings. "But you must truly want to see. It's not just about the light, but facing the shadows that linger behind. Often, the darkest fears come from the truths we avoid." A low murmur rippled through the group. Some turned away, unwilling to confront the shadows they had kept locked away. Others leaned in, intrigued, desperate for clarity. The boy felt his heart racing, every beat thundered with urgency. Memories of the alley crept back like a thief in the night, stealing his conviction. Can we really face them? Won't it hurt too much? What if we lose everything? The mother's expression softened at his anguish. You have already lost so much by holding on to these secrets. You must decide if the pain of confronting is greater than the pain of hiding. The shadows stirred, and the chilling voice of the lurking figure seeped in, hissing like a snake. What will you choose, children of the light? The world outside offers a false sense of safety. Comfort and darkness often hold hands. To seek truth is to welcome pain. Face it, and you might fly free, or falter, fall into despair. A bead of sweat trickled down the boy's temple as the figure's taunts weaved through his mind. Would exposing their truths truly shatter their spirits, or was it the only way to eradicate the darkness? Do we trust her? Asked a man towards the back, his voice thick with uncertainty. What if she is a trick? What if she leads us to those who wait to destroy us? Don't you see? The mother urged passionately. Fear is not the enemy, but your lack of unity. Alone, you quiver, but together, you can break free. Embrace your vulnerabilities. The laughter of the ominous figure cut sharply across the defiance in the room. Do you think solidarity will shield you? When the shadows rise, they will tear apart your bonds, your alliance. You'll be left gasping for breath. Apprehension tugged at their hearts. The boy felt the swell of voices matching the cacophony in his mind. Yet in the chaos, a flicker of resolve emerged. What if we shared our truths? What if we faced it together? He shouted, hope trembling beneath his words. Silence charged the air once more. The figure flickered, an unsettling half-smile creeping across its features. And so, you choose your fates. But don't be surprised if it leads to heartache, or triumph. Facing the congregation, the mother gestured behind her. Step forward. Embrace your truths, for only then can you transform pain into strength. Who among you will be first? The question hung there like a noose, heavy with possibility. The congregation looked at one another, and the weight of this moment pressed down like an impending storm. But who would dare to take the leap? Each person's gaze lingered, anticipation and dread mingling, yet in the shadows, a new figure awaited, their intentions veiled. Would the answers they sought lead to salvation? Or would the darkness swirl forth, consuming all? Who among them was ready to confront their demons, and who would falter and surrender? The choice lay heavy in the air, and the storm was only just beginning. The silence thickened, stretching between breaths like tightrope wire quivering beneath weight. The boy's heart stumbled in his chest. Around him, the congregation stood frozen, shadows dancing in their eyes as each person battled their own fears. Someone has to go first, he urged, his voice cracking under the pressure. We can't wait forever. His words echoed, laced with a desperate hope that someone would take the plunge, crack the surface of their collective dread. A woman with tear-streaked cheeks stepped forward, her hands clenched into fists at her sides. I lost my daughter, she stammered, her eyes shimmering like fragile glass. I didn't protect her. I let her slip away. The anguish in her voice pulled tight on everyone's heartstrings. Every day, I replay that moment in my mind, wishing I could change it. The cloaked figure writhed, seemingly drinking in her pain, its eyes glinting with darkness. And you think confessing will bring her back? That such shared burdens won't send you spiraling into despair? No. The boy shouted back, thrusting his chin forward. It's not about dragging each other down. It's about lifting each other up. You can't drown if we stand together. The room held its breath, the air electrified. Encouraged, the woman continued, I've been too scared to speak. But I want to live without this weight. I want to remember her joy, not just my pain. Heads nodded around the room, a trickle of realization washing over them. Shadows flickered but held their ground. One by one, more voices rose. I'm hiding guilt over choices that haunt me, a man blurted out, his spirit flickering like a candle's flame. I turned my back on my brother. I thought it was safer only to find my fear drove him away. The mother's gaze shone with pride. This is it. Feel it, your truths are raw but powerful. Share them. A ripple of confessions unfurled through the crowd. Wounds laid bare, painful pasts unraveling like frayed threads. The boy felt solidarity blooming amidst the fear, but uncertainty still loomed. With every admission, the ominous figure simmered, growing angrier, feeding off the vulnerable truths. Look at them. It spat, eyes narrowing, they're just dragging you deeper. Your strength will fracture, your bonds will break. Tell your tales, and you'll see. You'll regret this moment. But the mother held her ground. This is the moment of release. Confront your pasts or be consumed by them. Then, one shadowy form lingered behind the cloaked figure, waiting in stillness. The boy's stomach knotted. This newcomer felt wrong, the darkness wrapped around them like smoke. It whispered secret fears, echoing doubts directly into his mind. What if they turn on one another? What if they find more pain than solace? The voices of the congregation rose in a swell. Each confession laid the foundation for a fragile castle of hope, but the boy's protective instinct screamed. This can't last, he realized. We are not all telling the truth. There might be a hidden agenda at play. Suddenly, a shrill laugh sliced through the gathering. The cloaked figure lunged closer, eyes blazing like coals. Isn't it quaint? You think you can save each other? Those bonds are threads, and threads snap under pressure. A deep chill gripped the air. The boy glanced at his mother. What if she's right? Can connection withstand the attack? Then he turned back to the group. We must stand taller. Together. Don't let her sway you. Just as the murmurs intensified, a shadow darted forward, a third figure, cloaked and veiled, emerging from the darkness. Let the games begin, it hissed, eyes glinting like knives. The congregation froze, eyes wide, breaths held. Was this new figure a creator of frightful truths or the harbinger of nightmares yet to come? The boy tightened his grip around his mother's hand. Now we see who breaks, it whispered, and the storm inside the room roared like thunder. What new chaos awaited them in their darkest hour? Every decision they made could lead to salvation or ruin, but would they be strong enough to face the terror lurking within? The shadows reeled as the new figure stepped into the light, cloaked in darkness yet somehow commanding attention. It twirled, twisting the very essence of dread that had stripped hope from the hearts of the congregation. Your desperation is almost amusing, it sneered, the voice echoing like thunder, thick with malice. The air around them thickened, a suffocating presence that clawed at their throats and sent their hearts racing. The woman who had spoken out earlier was the first to break the ice once more. We're not giving in to you. We've come too far. Her voice rang out, clear and unwavering, breaking through the tension like glass shattering. The boy's pulse quickened, and he felt the collective strength of those around him. Together. They shouted, hands gripping one another, forming an unyielding chain of resolve, but the cloaked figure only laughed, the sound slithering into their minds. Together? You crave that illusion of unity. Prepare for the truth. It isn't the bonds that shatter, it's what binds you to darkness. The shadows leaped, undulating towards the congregation, tendrils reaching for breathing flesh, hungry to suffocate every glimmer of light. No! The boy yelled, pulling in a deep breath. We will face our truths. We refuse to hide. Each soul around him felt the surge, the adrenaline that ignited purpose anew. We'll tackle every ounce of regret. Another proclaimed, standing firm against the dark. Voices joined one by one, their collective volume rising, shaking the very foundations of the church, drowning out the mocking laughter of the dark being, and it began. They stepped forward into the light, bearing hidden truths like shields. I was selfish, cried the woman who had lost her daughter. I thought it was all about me, but I learned to cherish every moment. The darkness shrieked, recoiling as if burned. I let go of friendships because I was terrified, a man admitted, shaking with vulnerability. I'd rather be alone than risk pain. The specter howled, the shadows swirled more erratically, trying to crush their spirits with regret. Not anymore, shouted the boy. We embrace every part of us. We are not victims of our past. The lights flickered, dancing among the terrors they faced, the brightening warmth pushing against the engulfing darkness. What's happening? Someone gasped, awe illuminating their face. The shadows twisted and writhed, screeching dissent, as fragments of light forged brighter than ever. Your truths have become swords, the mother whispered, pride warming her features. Each confession is a weapon against despair. The dark figure faltered, momentarily unnerved by their unity. But the lies of control are even sharper. It screeched, unable to reconcile its own fear as the light shimmered around the boy's head. Not just lies, another cried, shaking with fervor. We held too tightly to our guilt. Now, we let it go. We're releasing you from your control. With each confession, shadows thinned, bleeding into emotional ether, surrounding the congregation with a swirling mist of their own powerful honesty. I feared never being good enough, one sobbed. But realizing my worth gave me strength. The dark entity staggered, its form shrinking against the rising tide of light. The boy sensed victory and shouted, "You twist truth to shatter us, but we are unstoppable when united. A force exploded outward, a blinding radiant wave pulsed through the church as everyone surged forward, holding hands tightly to manifest their power. With their combined will, they fought against the dark, generating a light that became an ethereal barrier, pushing the shadows away. Then, just like a candle in a storm, relying on their collective resilience, they struck the final blow. "We forgive ourselves," they chorused, words blending into a strong, defiant anthem. The cloaked figure screamed, an anguished cry that shattered windows and rent the air with dread, twisting into a vortex before shattering into countless shards of black. No more would they live in fear, they were free from the chains of regret that had long sung them to sorrowful slumber. Finally, it was over. The stillness embraced them, thick like a blanket but comforting, a warmth they had long thirsted for. As they looked at one another, in the aftermath bathed in glory, the boy smiled through tears. "We're together," he breathed. "Through every truth and shadow, we stand tall." A wave of camaraderie filled the church, a revitalizing bond forged in struggle, flicking the last traces of the oppressive atmosphere away. Outside, dawn broke, and a chorus of birds broke the silence, rising into the sky, shrill and joyous, a good solid promise of what was to come. With hands still joined, they stepped out into the light, breathing life anew into their souls, hearts half broken yet wholly renewed. They carried with them their truths, no longer shadows but facets of who they were, brave, forgiving, and alive. Remember, this moment can be yours too. Subscribe immediately so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. It matters. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending, and please, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to support the channel, so don't wait even one more second.